Okay, this morning we're going to take a look at tracks in Garmin Basecamp and talk a little bit about what they're used for, what they are, differences between them and routes. Routes, as you've seen from the previous videos here, are a pre-configured path that are created from waypoints and via points that guide you along a path, generally on routable roads. Tracks, on the other hand, are like breadcrumbs. The GPS unit, as you ride along, will record a position every so often at a preset interval, and the track itself is a collection of these points connected with straight lines. So if we look here on the map, this is a recorded track that I downloaded from the internet. This is an area that I want to ride next year, and somebody has already ridden it and shared the recording from their unit online. So this is a faithful recreation of exactly where they went. Now, you might wonder why this would be useful, but if I zoom in to this area right here, you can see exactly where he went in this maze of roads. Up here in this area right here, it looks like he went down a road and had to turn around and go back. Maybe there was a road washed out or a tree blocking the road or whatever. But you can see exactly where he went and stopped and turned around and went back and then continued on down a different direction. So when you're sharing a route or a path that you rode, you have a complete record of what you did. The good thing about the tracks when you're sharing them like this is they don't care if there's maps, what version of maps you have, what software you're using. They will display faithfully, without any changes, exactly where you've been. So tracks are a good way to share a path with different users. If we come over here, well, let me show you over here in the data panel. If I filter this to show only the tracks, you can see them here. They have the little footprints or tracks next to them. And this 26 September 13 is the track that we were looking at. This is his recording of where he rode on the 26th of September. So if we double click, you can see in here the information that's contained in this track. And it, like I said before, it's just a snapshot, a point of where he was at a particular time of day while he was riding this. Up at the top you have a summary. There's 500 points in this track. It's contained in 700 square miles. You have the elevation. The fact that this has exactly 500 points tells me it was probably filtered. when he recorded it, he probably had thousands of points that were recorded, but some units will only accept a certain amount of points in a track. Otherwise, they'll cut off everything that comes after that. So using Garmin Basecamp, you can filter your track, and we'll do that later. Up here at the top, you have tabs up here. If you click on graph, this shows you the elevation changes over the time or mileage of the track, and this can be zoomed in and played with. We won't go over that right now, but it's some useful information to see where you've been, especially out west where the elevation changes are so different. You can also, if you're wanting to see how long a certain part of the track is, you can select one point, hold down the shift key, and select further down. So you've got 6 points here, which it shows up top, 6 points, total distance of 1.3 miles. And then you can get the elevation change over those 6 points. And if I move this out of the way, it'll you can see where it's changed to orange. Shows you the span of that 6 points. So this is what it's covering. Now if we look over here, the green here is that track that we were just looking at. And this right here really illustrates a lot of the differences between routes and tracks. The purple line here is a route that I created because there are routable roads here. And if we zoom in, you can see that the route follows exactly the road. The green track does not exactly follow the road, especially this segment right here. The track is just a point to point. He must have been either going pretty fast and covered a lot of distance between the time the GPS sent out its location, or recorded its location, I should say, or it missed recording one. If in a look, you can see that even where it looks like it's on the road, as you zoom in, you can tell that it's really not following the road. It's point to point to point. The main thing to take away from that is when you're looking at it on your GPS unit as you're riding along and you're trying to follow it, that sometimes it will appear you're not on the path when you really are. Some units will give you directions and turns based on a track. Most won't, especially street units. But you can manually follow it to guide yourself. There's another track here, this one, that was created from Google Earth, which I won't go over right now, that is even further off the roads because it was created by clicking along a path. So you have far fewer points And you can also do that to create a track by coming up here to this tool, New Track, clicking on it to activate it, and it gives you the pencil tool. So you can come over here, click, and see how it is not following exactly. You can make it a lot closer by a lot more points. Or a lot. So if we open up the properties for that, there's the 9 points that we included. Of course, there's no elevation information in here. But one thing to note is that this distance, 3.4 miles, is along that straight line. So your actual distance when you're out riding will be quite a bit more, because you're going to follow the road, not that straight line. Just something to be aware of. So that's a little. Okay, let me do one more here. Let me point out another use for tracks that I find most useful for tracks is the fact that it will go across areas that have no routable roads. So if we're looking at this particular track here, you can see that right here in this area, it leaves the road on the map. Now there's no way to create a route across an area on this map that has no routable roads. The route tool will create what's known as a direct route, but most GPS units don't like it and won't follow it, and it does not work well. Plus, if you share it with somebody else, it could end up bouncing around all over the place and not even being close. Tracks will not do that. Tracks will never change. So here on the map, from where it leaves this road out to Kanab Point, you're basically going cross country. But again, this is a recording of where someone has already ridden, and you can expect that there's a path through here because somebody has already been there and they have shared this on the internet. So that right there, to me, because I do ride off-road, is one of the big attractions of tracks. Next time we'll look at creating tracks from Google Earth and bringing them into Garmin Basecamp.